My mouse wouldn't work. I couldn't get it to click over. Hello, everyone. How are you doing? What's going on here? There we go. Yeah, so my hair, first of all, I guess I should address the elephant in the room. My hair is mid greening. So first I have to bleach my hair out and then add the green. And I ran out of time yesterday, so I just bleached it yesterday. Today, this morning, I will add the green, and then I will have green hair again. Again, I left the sides brown, and I think the back is too. I can't really see the back, but I tried not to bleach out the back too much. I like, rather than just a complete green Q-tip, I like to have some brown showing, so we'll see how that goes. I do it all myself, so, it's not going to be perfect, but that is all right. I had a really, really bad headache yesterday. I wouldn't call it a migraine. I think it was just like really bad sinus headache in the morning. So I apologize for not live streaming yesterday, but nevertheless, here today, and tomorrow will be comic day. Today I see the orthodontist. It snuck up on me. I didn't realize it was coming this quickly, but I see the orthodontist where he's going to tell me, if he sees the shadow, it's 6 more months of braces or something like that. I don't know. And since when I close my mouth, my teeth don't line up yet, I'm positive that I'm not close to being done. But I don't know what he's going to do. The last time I went in, he got sandpaper, like a power sander, and he like power sanded between my teeth and stuff, and to like make room for them to move or something. I don't even know, but we'll see what happens this time. And I'm sure my teeth will hurt for a couple days, but that's fine. It doesn't really hurt that bad. It's not nearly as bad as the braces catching on my lip, which is why I'm all waxed up this morning. Yeah, I generally wear wax across my whole braces in the overnight, so I just left it in. Anyway, yeah, that's what's going on today. It's rainy right now, and I don't know if it's supposed to rain the rest of the day. I don't know. Maybe not. Let's see. Rain, rain, rain. It just says it's supposed to rain today, but it doesn't say how much. Oh, it's just supposed to rain in the morning, so it should quit by like 9 o'clock and then just be wet the rest of the day. High of 68 degrees, mid 70s the rest of the week. Yeah, it's going to be a nice day. I don't think we really have anybody here yet, but that's okay. I think that. Oh, hi, Mary. It's supposed to rain through 10 there. All right. It's funny. It doesn't show me that. So I have this thing that shows like who's watching or like what platforms have, not who's watching it. I don't have that information, but like if viewers are watching, I'm supposed to get a notification, and I show nobody from Facebook. So way to sneak in there, Mary, and not even let the platform know. That's cool. But let's see. Yeah. So rain today. It rained a little bit yesterday. I have decided I'm going to try to do like the subathon for like Twitch, and I'll include YouTube as well. But I'm going to do it probably towards the end of October, maybe. But what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it into like a product giveaway and like show off stuff along with affiliate links. And my thought there is I could, give stuff away, and then if the people don't get any of the stuff that I give away, which I'm not even sure how I'm going to get all the stuff yet, and what stuff it's going to be. But then we could talk about products, and then I'll have affiliate links to like Amazon links. So if anybody doesn't win, but they still want it, like thought it was cool, they could get it, and then I get like 2% kicker if somebody orders something from Amazon through my affiliate link. So that's going to be part of the subathon. I still don't really get Twitch. It's Twitch is it's obviously it's a live streaming, like not only but mainly for live streaming, but I just don't quite I don't really live stream properly. So I think that's the deal. YouTube can do live stream. They're trying to, YouTube tries to. I think they're trying to play catch up with Twitch for live streaming, and like some gamers have moved over to YouTube for live streaming as well. But I don't know. I hate not to utilize the platform because it does have some unique advantages. So anyway, yeah, that's the plan for the subathon that I've been promising for like a year. Salmon are running if you're a fisher person. Mary, I don't know if your family ever fishes for salmon. It turns out it's really hard. They have their mind on spawning, not on eating or getting caught. But I have hooked two. I haven't landed any. They immediately get the lure out of their mouth. They jump into the air, freak me out, get adrenaline in my system, and then spit the lure out. But I went down yesterday to the river, and there were so many people fishing. It was like shoulder to shoulder along the entire riverbank. So that doesn't really appeal to me all that much. So I don't know if I will do that. But nonetheless, it is what it is. Yeah, it's so weird. The whole how many people are watching is just not accurate. So I guess it's good to know that, if nothing else. I did wear, I have a chest strap for a GoPro. When I was fishing yesterday, I decided I was going to try to record it. So I have, like some fishing, but I didn't catch anything. So it's like, there's nothing in there that I'm going to use, but, it is pretty easy to wear. It's pretty easy to wear. It doesn't get in the way, and hopefully the footage turned out. I'm going to look at the footage just to see what it looks like. But anyway, yeah, that doesn't look. Yeah, I don't either. And sometimes people are nice. Like when I first got there was an older gentleman, and I have to remind myself that I'm now an older gentleman too. But he was a little older than me, and I was standing. I mean, not awkwardly close to him, but I started, casting in a slightly different direction, and he started packing up, and I said, "Oh, sir, I'm so sorry if I'm crowding you out, I'll happily, move a little bit more. I wasn't trying to push you out." And he was really kind, and he's like, "Oh, no, I've been here for 2 hours and had fun. I'm about done. 2 hours is a good amount of time." And he talked about like what lures he was using, and he's just a really, really nice guy. And then I did actually take his spot when he left because he had a place to sit down. But then sometimes, like, there's a teenage boy who comes down there, and he's using very much the wrong kind of lure, but he's also very confident in himself. And by confident, I mean probably totally not confident, so is playing it up. But not looking for any advice or thoughts or anything, but he's also loud and obnoxious, and yeah, so that's not terribly fun. For the most part, it's just people down there quietly fishing, but it can get passive aggressive when people are that close, and I just don't like that. So anyway, yeah. I already had coffee this morning. I woke up early, so the dogs have all been outside. Hopefully I won't get called away by barking. And then Millie is actually laying at my feet, which is really sweet. It is going to be, let's see, it's around these parts, it's garbage day, which means nothing to anybody else. But it's, I got to take out garbage, and then I just got to study. Cloud Run is what I'm studying, and PubSub. These are all Google Cloud things that I need to teach on. And if you don't know what either of those are, that's okay. I only vaguely know what they are, and I have to teach on them. So, yeah. But it'll be awesome. Yeah. I guess that's about all I got. And there's not really people who ask questions. If you have any questions, I'll happily answer them, or try to, or make something up. But yeah, I guess I could dig up some kind of gaming, since nothing else is going on. I could always game. Oh, maybe we could do. I think it works now. Hold on, let me see. I'm pretty sure. Um, yeah, Google Cloud, and sadly, it's so complex, so complicated, so complex. It's super super annoying. Oh, hey Larry, how you doing, bud? I don't know if you see me. I took up my entire screen and now I can't see anything. Yeah. Uh, I don't know how to make it not be full screen. Okay, well that didn't work. I apologize for if everything disappeared for you. I was trying to get a game to play, but it would only go full screen, so that's not good. Um, hello, Cipher Tech. Howdy, howdy. Yeah, that was not great. Yeah. Anyway, I'll experiment with that later. But anyway, yeah. So I I have to clean my office, and nobody cares about that. But one of the things I've noticed is that uh, if I'm busy, like doing lots of concentrated work, where I have to study, like the last couple of weeks have been, my office gets more and more and more horrifyingly messy. And then when my office is messy, it doesn't bother me that it's messy, but I can't seem to get as much work done when it's messy. It's weird. I have a weird relationship with clutter. I'm confident I could find stuff in my office without a problem, but it's very cluttered. So cluttered that it's difficult to walk around. And somehow it's like the clutter gets in my way of thinking a lot. Nothing much, just installing ESXi 8 on a Lenovo M700. Wow. So, okay, CipherTech is ESXi, it's not free anymore though, is it? I mean, I'm not saying like, oh, people only use it if it's free, but um, is do they still have a free version of it? I didn't think so. I thought they had taken it away. I thought Broadcom had decided that ESXi was no longer going to be a free product that also worked with paid stuff. So I'm curious. Maybe I was misinformed. I haven't used ESXi in quite a while. I was going to install it for something, and then it was bought by Broadcom, and things changed. So like I didn't. No, it's not for. Okay, all right. That's what I thought. I thought it was no longer free. Neil, hello, welcome, good morning, guten Tag. Oh, there's a way to download. Okay, okay. Does the licensing, CipherTech, does the licensing still allow for usage without payment? And I mean, you don't have to elaborate. I mean, that's fine. A custom ISO. Okay, okay. Interesting. That's fascinating. Yeah, a friend of mine worked at VMware and then lost his position after the takeover. So I have like double ill will towards VMware, but that's just a personal take. So anyway, Neil, good morning. So Neil, oh, it's a trial. Okay. Neil, have you been at your new house recently? And like, did you go there yesterday? And how is it going? Do you think it's going to be move-in ready, like before too long? Are you excited about the potential of actually staying in the house that you and your beautiful wife purchased? Um, because I mean, it's kind of torture to have a house that you own that you're not living in. And anybody here, yeah, please congratulate my son-in-law, Neil. He recently purchased a home, which is awesome. Cyphertech using it for home lab. Very cool. You know, a sad story, and I don't know if it's sad, it's just a transition. Right now, Neil and my daughter live at my farm, and I have my little micro data center out there, you know, gigabit fiber, multiple static IPs, commercial grade, gig up, gig down. I am, when they move to their new home, I'm going to sell the farm, and I'm not going to have the location with fiber anymore. So I think I'm going to transition away from very much home lab stuff. I've already moved my email out, so it's like a little bit sad. I mean, I'll still have computers in a home lab, but right now I actually host, well, not right now. I mean, I've already started the transition, but I was hosting almost everything myself. I was hosting email myself, all my websites myself, all my media servers myself. Everything was hosted on my own, and I have transitioned some of that away. I'm not sure how much I'm going to transition. I'm glad email is no longer hosted there, because having email go down, even if I did transport it from one place to another, you can't have email down for hours. I mean, you just, you know, email is kind of an important thing to have. So, Neil, yes, the home is going well. Ozone machine has been a godsend. It's amazing how the ozone. So I have a little. It's a small model, but it's an ozone generator, and it's literally designed to like kill smells and like bacteria and viruses. I think it just kills everything. But it does a really neat job of getting rid of stinky smells. And, you know, they bought a new house, and it had some previous owner odor issues. And yeah, just kind of killing all that, along with obviously deep cleaning. That's exciting. I'm glad that the ozone machine has been working, though. And this weekend, full time, that would be awesome. I'm excited for you guys. I truly, truly am. Yeah, very, very cool. Unfortunately, well, I guess it's only raining this morning. So potentially you could do more after work, and it hopefully wouldn't be raining. I mean, most of the work is indoors, but like if you're hauling stuff, it's no fun to move in the rain with like hauling boxes in and out. But yeah. Yeah. So Cyphertech, if you're still here, so I started using Proxmox for my home lab just to experiment, and I loved it so much that I got three. I just went to I got used servers on eBay, but they're pretty beefy servers, and then I got 10 gigabit Ethernet cards, or I got servers with 10 gigabit Ethernet and a MikroTik 10 gigabit switch, and I have a server Proxmox cluster using Ceph FS with SSDs in each server, and you know that the Ceph FS means that the redundancy is distributed amongst all three of the servers, and it's fast, and they all have access, and it can make for really quick migration between the servers and the cluster. And it has been pretty amazing. I'm not going to lie. So I'm not saying not to use, VMware ESXi, but if you haven't played with Proxmox, I liked it so much more than I expected. It's the go-to solution. I believe it. And yeah, I just played with it. Somebody mentioned it. I hadn't even heard of it, to be quite honest. I mean, this has been several years ago now, but somebody mentioned it. So I'm like, oh, I'll try it. I put it on a server, and I'm like, wow, this feels like, it reminded me of having ESXi, but then paying for, what is the program that you have to use to manage them all. I don't remember. It's been a long time. It just completely slips my mind. But the thing you have to pay for to make them work together, it just felt like it was a complete solution. And yeah, I just found it amazing. So, you run Proxmox Primary. Oh, good. Yeah, that's cool. And that's good to hear. And it's funny, the last time I was going to install ESXi, I was in the same situation. I actually had my Proxmox cluster already, but I like to learn stuff and play with stuff. And I was going to install ESXi here at my house instead of out at my farm where Proxmox is. And there was a specific reason I was going to do it too. I think I wanted to see how, because they'll do a container optimized VM, and I wanted to see how well it vCenter. Yeah, that's the word I couldn't think of. Something about ESXi had an image for a container optimized OS, and I wanted to see how well it did, or how efficient it was at running Docker containers and stuff. But it just wasn't worth it. Actually, the same thing now that I'm teaching Google Cloud. If you are using containers in the cloud, like using Kubernetes or just running like a container right in Compute Engine, they'll have you spin up a virtual machine, and they have a container optimized OS, which is, I don't know, some stripped down version of Linux that just runs Docker well, or probably Containerd. And I'll be honest, the nuances between Containerd and Docker and Podman, they all sort of escape me. I have to look more, to see exactly what the differences are. Although this, here's me. I actually had Adderall this morning, but I'm jumping around a little bit. One of the courses that was put up internally at CBT Nuggets that they're going to, one of the trainers is going to handle. I was tempted, but I'm just I have so much with Google Cloud to learn that I'm not going to try and do double duty of learning. But it's the Red Hat has a containerization certification, I guess, and they use, Podman for everything. And it's just interesting. Looking at the objectives, it's like I could do most of this. So I assume there's going to be other takers, though, the trainers. I mean, if not, I suppose I could do it, but it's funny that containers have kind of become ubiquitous, and all of computing. I love that Larry's just kind of hanging out in the background there, but all of computing is pretty much done in containers now. And I just had to teach on Kubernetes, so I had to take a crash course in Kubernetes, so I knew it enough to teach it. And I mean, honestly, Kubernetes is. Everything is like this, right? Once you learn it and get to use it, it's just not that complicated. I mean, it's complex, but the things it does is not that bad. Cyphertech, you know what? I agree. So I find myself in mainly probably 85 to 90% of the things that I do, in my micro data center on my Proxmox cluster, I will either containerize applications, and then I usually have when they're containerized and they need to be public, I have a separate it is an LXC container running like Debian or Ubuntu, I don't remember which, and then I use Caddy. I don't know if you're familiar with Caddy. It's a web server, but it also is a really, really incredible reverse proxy. And so I will use that server as a reverse proxy for my different Docker containers. But if I want a standalone server, I will almost always pick an LXC container because it's so nice. It's efficient, it's fast, there's much lower maintenance, and much fewer resources. The only weird thing about LXC containers versus a virtual machine is in Proxmox, you can live migrate a virtual machine, but you can't live migrate an LXC container, which I find fascinating. I mean, they shut down and restart so quickly. You can do a migration, but it actually powers it down and powers it back up versus a VM, which can be live migrated. And I'm sure it has to do with the fact that it's the LXC containers are using the underlying host operating system kernel, so I mean, it makes sense that it can't be, but it's just funny. You would think something smaller would be easier to migrate, but it doesn't do the live migration like a virtual machine does. So anyway, it is what it is. But yeah, I didn't like LXC containers at first because when I first learned about Proxmox, I thought, and I read like, oh, it handles containers natively. You can use virtual machines or containers. And at the time, I thought that meant Docker. So I thought it'll literally like just host Docker containers like right on, and you can, but that requires a little bit of hacking Docker into the host OS. By design, Proxmox doesn't host those types of containers directly, but it does LXC containers. And at first I didn't like that. And then I started playing with them and I realized, oh, this is really nice. I mean, this is really nice. I really, really like this. So yeah, I came full circle on LXC containers. Still set up cluster. You know what? It's the kind of thing where, again, I first learned about it just installing it on a random computer at my house, and then I liked it so much that I bought those 3 computers. And setting up the cluster, it was not difficult, but it was the kind of thing where I had to like Google how to do it, and it was mainly just follow the prompt. But that was years ago. It's not something that you do often enough that it's readily available in your conscious, unless you do something horribly wrong. You have to keep reinstalling. But I don't know that it would be very much fun to install Proxmox, even a cluster, and then try to add Ceph on top of it. It was a lot nicer to do everything at once and then have the Ceph file system available to use right from the get-go. So I don't know if adding Ceph afterwards, it's probably not too difficult, but yeah, it was really neat. And once it was set up and all of them were working, and I remember it being easier with fewer complications than I expected. But the most challenging part for me was figuring out how to separate networks, because each server has two. Does each server have two? I think each server has 2 10 gigabit connections, and maybe it has more. No, I think each one has 4. Yes. So each server had 4 10 gigabit connections. And I connected 3 of the 4 to a single switch that was in its own subnet, and I think 3 subnets even. And then you can separate the traffic. There's like Ceph FS traffic and like live migration traffic and cluster traffic, and so like each one has like its own subnet, and they communicate over this like network. But that was the toughest part, like figuring out exactly which purpose to assign each of those subnets and each of those cards on the thing. And then the 4th 10 gigabit connection that I have is actually just connecting at 1 gigabit to the main switch, like on my main network. And that's like where internet traffic, goes and comes. But the other 3 10 gigabit, they each have a subnet on my 10 gigabit switch. I did not VLAN them apart. I just, they're all just plugged into a 12 port 10 gigabit switch, and I just subnetted them apart, and that doesn't seem to be a problem at all. So anyway, yeah, I mean, sorry if I got super nerdy for people who are not keen on virtualization platforms, but have I used SDN on Proxmox? Software defined. I don't think that I have done anything that would be considered SDN. No. In fact, I could have done probably a better job when I set it up. Like I said, I didn't even use VLANs when I separate traffic. But my thought there was this, like setting up a VLAN, like for each, like there's the Ceph traffic and then the migration traffic on, one subnet, and then, I don't even know, the cluster traffic or whatever on the third. I didn't think that separating them with a VLAN would really add anything. I mean, switching technology, again, they're not going to be stepping on each other because, they were all separate and they're in separate subnets. I guess the only thing that might have been an issue is if there were like broadcasts going on, but I don't think that any of those things use broadcast. They're, pretty hardwired with their IP addresses. So anyway, yeah, it's been working really, 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 really well. I've been so happy with the Proxmox cluster, and you have to do it in odd numbers, which I always thought was interesting. The way that the manager things works, like you can't have an even number of cluster members because you can set up a dummy. So like if you only have 2 servers, you can set up a dummy cluster member somehow, but that's like kind of a hack so that it will allow you to be in cluster mode. But otherwise, you generally have to have an odd number of cluster members for it to properly fail over when things go wrong. So anyway, yeah, and have we lost the interest of anybody else who is not a network nerd? If so, I apologize. But yes, they need a quorum, and there was something about it needing to be an odd number. So, and I consider, okay, so, and this is just, I considered getting 2 more identical servers to what I purchased from, I mean, again, eBay, there's a couple providers on eBay that just have incredible deals on really good server hardware. I was going to get 2 more to have like a 5 node cluster, but it was ridiculous. There's no reason for me to do that, right? I wasn't coming close to using up the resources that the 3 node cluster provided. I just liked the idea of having a bigger cluster. So yeah, so I never did. But nonetheless, it was, I was really happy with it. And I'm going to obviously keep it running, but I don't know what I think I'm going to do. My eldest daughter and her husband live in a home that is served by the same company, like internet company. Like they live in a place where they can get the same fiber connection that my farm has. And I already talked to them and I think they're okay with it. I'm going to probably move my server rack there, but I don't think that I'm going to get the commercial fiber and, the 5 IP addresses. Again, I'll probably just get gigabit residential fiber because their residential service still gives you access to port 80 and port 443. So I'll still be able to, like host web services there. The thing is, the commercial grade fiber, which just means guaranteed bandwidth and supposedly faster service if things go wrong, that along with 5 static IP addresses costs $300 a month. And I don't know that I can justify $300 a month if I'm not really serving anything vital anymore. So I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do there. I really like having the the commercial grade fiber, and maybe I'll just do commercial grade fiber with 1 static IP. I don't remember how much the 5 static IPs are, but I don't need them anymore. I'm not going to go back to hosting my own email. And that was really the only reason I needed a separate static IP, is so that my mail server had its own IP address that could have, reverse lookup and it wouldn't get a bad internet rating from anything that might be happening on my other IPs. I wanted to, just have its own standalone IP address, but I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to keep my email hosted on bigger servers. For even you need a Q device. Yeah. And CipherTech. Yeah. So what I don't know is, I think a quorum device can just be like a Raspberry Pi. I think maybe that was the hack, and I use the word hack in the traditional sense, not in the cool breaking into banks sense. Just hacking things to make them work right. And I think that was an option. You could actually get like a tiny little Raspberry Pi and install Proxmox on it, not serve any virtual machines, but just to be like a member of the cluster, so that it could be a quorum member. Let's see. I'm trying to self-host email is the best way to do that. Okay. So if you're trying to self-host email, there are some nuances that are really, really, really important to know. First of all, pretty much any VPS, like if you're using a VPS to host, almost every VPS IP address is going to be blacklisted on all the spam lists, just because VPS is how spammers will, send out spam. And so all of those IP addresses that you get using a cloud service, especially a VPS cloud service, the inexpensive ones, they're all going to be blacklisted. Like the entire ranges are going to be blacklisted, which is super annoying. So it's almost impossible to host email from just a VPS instance. It's possible if you go with, something like Google Cloud. I don't know. I can't imagine all of their IP addresses are going to be blacklisted. Probably you would just need to reserve a static one instead of using an ephemeral IP address. But anyway, the big thing is to make sure that you can get an IP address that is static and is not on a blacklist. And that's the biggest challenge. The other thing is you have to be able to assign a reverse DNS record, a PTR record, because no email servers will accept email if the reverse DNS lookup doesn't go, directly to your mail server name. So you have to, and that was something most ISPs don't provide that. And I had to go with commercial grade internet service from the fiber provider in my area in order to get the option to specify a reverse DNS record. So that is the other thing. And just reputation of your server and your IP address is such a big issue. As far as the technical, like how to actually get it going, that was fun. I enjoyed that quite a bit, to be honest. And if you want to do self-hosting, my friend Kyle Rankin, hold on just a second. I don't know where, I think it's, hold on just a second. So I'm not sure if this book is readily available anywhere, but Linux Hardening in Hostile Networks. It doesn't seem like it's a how-to, but this is the book that I used when I was installing my my email server. He has all the information on how to get things like, DMARC and SPF and what's the other one? DKIM, and how to rotate encryption on your DKIM records and all of that stuff. So that's a really great book. I don't think that the paper version, I don't think it's in print anymore. Maybe there's an electronic version still available for sale somewhere, but Linux Hardening and Hostile Networks by Kyle Rankin is how I figured out installing an email server. There's a lot of packages out there that you can install with like a one click and click, and your email's set up. I did not want to do it that way. I really wanted to know exactly what was happening behind the scenes. And so, I installed Postfix and I installed Dovecot, and then, you have to install several other services. And I really enjoyed doing all the nitty gritty stuff. But the unfortunate part is those things that are out of your control can be the most frustrating, specifically getting a clean IP address. I think that might be the most difficult part, is getting a clean IP address and, being able to set up the reverse DNS record. And then even once you have a clean IP address and you set all the stuff up and it's working and you have, DKIM working and SPF working, and the DMARC records are set up. All of those things, when they're working perfectly, you still a lot of mail servers will base their trust level on how recent your MX records have been changed, or your outgoing SMTP server, like how recently those settings have been set up, which is a little unfair. But again, they're all measures that email servers are trying to prevent somebody from setting up a quick email server and spamming things. Yeah, so you would need a static IP address, and you have to be able to get a reverse DNS record on that static IP address that resolves, your mail server has to resolve to that static IP address. So if you're not familiar with DNS, DNS, you say like, what is google.com? And then you get a reply from DNS saying it's like, 1.2.3.4. Reverse DNS is just the opposite, but whereas you can have like a number of DNS names that resolve to the same IP address, if you do a reverse lookup on an IP address, it will reply a single host and it has to match. So if you, like currently, since I'm not actually hosting on it, but if you do a DNS lookup on mail.nerdlings.net, you will get something.178, I think. And then if you do a reverse lookup on that IP address, it will resolve to mail.nerdlings.net. And so that's like the first step. Like if you don't have a static IP address that resolves to what your mail server is going to be, and then if you can't have a static IP and also a reverse DNS entry added, and it has to be, and it's not one that you can add either, which is frustrating. The DNS record, the reverse DNS record, has to be added by whoever owns the IP address. So like it has to be your ISP or your cloud provider, or that you can't assign the reverse record even if you own the domain, because the reverse record isn't applied to the domain, it's applied to the IP address. And so you have to control that. So yeah, anyway, it can be that's the most challenging part, because if you can't get that, no amount of configuration is ever going to get your email server to be trusted enough to send and receive email. So yeah, static IP and reverse record. And then again, make sure that your static IP, like if you know what static IP you could potentially get, go online and search for email server blacklists and make sure that your static IP isn't listed. And it might not be listed like individually. It could just be in a subnet range that they're blocking. Like most VPS services, all of their IPs are blocked, which is just, it's sad. And it's not really fair, because you could have a perfectly valid use case, where somebody just wants to host their own email, but if they use one of the same IP ranges that other spammers have used, all of a sudden that email address is blacklisted by default. And you can appeal to the various places that store blacklists, but you're never going to get your IP address off of it. I learned that when I was researching. Like if it's blacklisted, it's blacklisted. Nobody cares enough to remove things from the blacklist, because 99.99% of email comes from big hosts. And it's not fair. But the only reason that I ended up getting a clean IP address is because my ISP, bought from some larger company, and they hadn't really assigned any IP addresses. And so the unused IP address was not on any blacklist. So that's why part of me wants to keep those IP addresses, just because, it's clean and they're mine. And yeah, I don't know, but $300 a month is a lot of money. So yeah, you would have to check the blacklist, and there's several blacklists, but if you just Google for, email server blacklists, you'll be able to find the most popular blacklist. There's some sites that actually combine them. There was some site I remember you put in the IP address and they, scan all the well-known blacklists to see if it shows up anywhere. And yeah. But if you do it and set up, your email server, just make sure that it's not an open relay, because if you set up your email server and you make it an open relay, it'll immediately be blacklisted everywhere, and you will be a person sending out spam all over the internet, and it'll be bad. Hold on, I'm gonna sneeze. Oh, excuse me. So anyway, yeah, that was a whole lot of information about email servers. I don't know who we might have scared off or put back to sleep, but I'm excited. I like talking about that kind of stuff. And my mail server was an LXD container on my Proxmox cluster. So, we've come full circle. Yeah, that's that was a lot of fun. I don't regret that I hosted my own email, but I'm currently Cloudflare is my DNS server or my DNS provider. I use Cloudflare, just a free level. I don't pay for them to host it. I don't have a need for any of their premium services, but they're a really big DNS host. And so all my domains, I don't buy my domains through there. My registrar, I actually use namecheap.com, but Cloudflare is my DNS server, and they have a free feature where they will forward incoming mail to somewhere like Gmail. So I have a Gmail account, and I have all my various domains set up to forward email just to my Gmail account. And Cloudflare does a very proper job of forwarding emails. They rewrite the headers absolutely correctly, so Gmail doesn't see it as spam. It just receives the email just fine, and it's been really rock solid. But that doesn't give you outgoing. So what I do for outgoing email is I have all my domains set up. Mailgun, I couldn't think of it, but Mailgun is the provider that I use, and I just use their free tier. Allows for 1,000 outgoing emails a month, and that's enough for me unless my newsletter grows. And so for outgoing emails on all my domains, I use Mailgun. For incoming email, I just forward from Cloudflare into my Gmail account. And then when they come into Gmail, I'll use Gmail filters and label them and sort them accordingly. So, oh yeah, Namecheap and Cloudflare, yeah, samesies. I like them. I think Namecheap is true to their word. They're affordable. They've been pretty rock solid, and they support a lot of domains, like top level domains. And they just seem to be pretty rock solid. And then I like Cloudflare. I don't use Cloudflare's proxy service, but they do provide that for free. Even you don't even have to pay for that service if you want to have them proxy your web services. So yeah. And as far as where to get a clean IP address, I don't know. I truly don't. I got lucky that my ISP's static IP blocks weren't blacklisted, but I have no idea where like a good place to get a clean IP address without paying a fortune might be. Most, like, I use OVH, I think is the VPS provider I use for some of my stuff, and it is OVH. I pay like $3.50 a month, but all of the IP addresses that they have are blacklisted. Something I haven't checked. So I haven't used Cloudflare tunnels either. No, I haven't. You know what? I probably should have been using Cloudflare stuff more, especially since I was hosting my own websites. In case one of them got attacked, I should be using a Cloudflare proxy, and maybe I will set that up. Maybe that'll be my next big setup. But also, I haven't used Cloudflare tunnels now. What was I just going to say? I was going to say something interesting. So everybody who is interested in computing, Oracle Cloud. Now, I don't even know who uses Oracle anymore, but Oracle is still there. And if you go to, cloud.oracle.com, you can use their cloud services. And I mean, they're fine. I don't know that they have like amazing cloud offerings, but what they do offer, their free tier, you can get, it's ARM based, but it's not that's fine. You can get an ARM based server with 100 gigabytes of storage, for the hard drive, 24 gigabytes of RAM, and 2 ampere cores, like vCPU cores, in the free tier. And that is a really stinking beefy server for a free tier. And then on top of that, you can also get 2 micro instances with an AMD server. It's like, I think they have 1 gig of RAM, 1 AMD core, and 50 gigabits or gigabytes of storage. You get 2 of those for free. But that Ampere server, 24 gigs of RAM, 100 gigabytes of storage, and 2 virtual CPU, Ampere CPUs. It's a beefy server for the free tier. And I don't know if their IP addresses, you get static IP addresses as well for free. I don't know if those are blacklisted for email servers. So that might be a place to go check, is set up your free tier servers at Oracle Cloud, and then see what your IP address is. And I know you can get an ephemeral IP address that stays as long as you keep the server active. You can also reserve a static IP, but I don't know if those are in the free tier or not. But that would be worth checking those IP addresses, because it's overkill for a free tier. And they're Ampere CPUs, right? I mean, ARM based, but there's nothing wrong with that. And I mean, your Linux software is going to run just fine on that. And I mean, that would be, again, that's huge. If I decide not to self-host a lot of my web stuff, I'm probably going to move a lot of my websites to that server, because I mean, holy cat biscuits, right? That's a significant server for free. And I didn't trust that it was going to be free. I'm like, nope, that is way too much server to be free. So I assumed that once the trial period, because when you sign up, you get like a trial period with like free service money or whatever. But I was like, no, once the trial's over, that computer is going to go away. But I was wrong. I've had it for a couple of years now, and that server is on the free tier, and it just keeps cranking away. And so, that's the best deal going for a free beefy server in the cloud. I just don't know about. I think there's a spot where you can enter reverse DNS record too, but I don't know if it's a clean IP. If it's going to be blacklisted. If you do that, set it up and your ephemeral IP address is on the blacklist, you might see if you can reserve a static IP, and I don't know if there's any cost for that. Maybe not. You might still be able to reserve a static IP. The only difference between the ephemeral IP and the reserved static IP is if you blow away the instance, you like delete the server and create a new server, you get a different ephemeral IP address. But as long as that server stays active, you get it forever. But if you reserve a static IP, you can assign it to different servers on your account. So CipherTech, I agree with you 100%. But I've had it for a couple years now, and there's no catch that I can find. Also, you get up to 10 gigabytes a month of network egress. Yes, egress going out. That was like partway through my disbelief that it was still running. I thought, oh, but you know what? I bet it's limited to like 1 gigabyte of data or whatever. But nope, it's like 10 terabytes a month of egress, like throughput that you can have. So it truly is just this ridiculous, awesome deal. And I don't know if it's just that not a lot of people know about it, not a lot of people believe it, but I encourage you, go set up your account on Oracle Cloud and set up that free tier stuff. And again, it's they don't word it in quite. I know we're almost out of time. They don't word it that way. They say you get so many like VPC hours of ampere hours per month, and like you get a total of free tier hard drive storage of 200 gigabytes. But to make an instance, you have to have 50 gigabytes. Like you can only chop it up into 50 gigabyte chunks. And so if you want those two free AMD servers and the Ampere server, the best way to chop it up is 100 gigabytes for the Ampere server and then 50 gigabytes for each of the other two free tier AMD class servers. But the way that they word the Ampere free tier stuff is like so many virtual PC hours, but what it equates to is if you run it 24/7 for the month, you get 24 gigabytes of RAM on that server, and two V CPU whatevers. So yeah, set it up. That's awesome. I'm glad. And if you run into issues, let me know. The networking stuff was a little bit weird on my instance. I had to configure the firewall to allow traffic. It was a little bit goofy, because like the networking part of the cloud services, like I had to open up a port to allow external access, which makes perfect sense. But I also then had to configure the server to allow for it. And I think I had to make a note. I think I did it in Trillium Notes. So before I end the live stream, I will try to get you a link for what I had to do to set up external access. Like I had to set up the firewall rules on the instance itself to open up access to the outside, even though the cloud service was already allowing the traffic. Like the instance itself wasn't allowing it by default. And I thought I could just turn off the firewall, but that did not do it. Like just turning off the firewall on the instance did not make it work. Let's see. Oracle Cloud Notes. Yeah, okay. This is not a shared thing. Let me make it shared real quick. Okay. Come on, where do I share? Shared, there we go. Okay. All right. I mean, it's not like a complicated set of IP tables rules or anything, but here is, hopefully that's a clickable link for you. Those are the IP table rules that I had to set up in order to get port 80 and port 443 traffic in. You would have to, if you're setting up an email server, you'd have to do the same sort of things, just obviously like for port 25, even though you think, oh, port 25 is not ideal to have open. But if you're going to have an actual email server, it has to have port 25 open. Because that's how email servers communicate with each other still. I mean, you'll also want like port 587 and port 465 open for connecting to it to like send stuff, and also, port for IMAP secure, which I don't remember what the IMAP secure ports are, but using that format, that should open up your internal computer's firewall. And then you also have to set up the Oracle Cloud Network, allowances for connecting stuff. So it's a two-step process. But anyway, everybody else who is not CipherTech, I'm so sorry if we bored you to death, but that's what it's like when networking nerds start talking about stuff. Anyway, enjoy that Oracle Cloud stuff. I did not believe it. Even though I read all the stuff, I did not believe it until my trial timed out, and I still got to keep all three servers in their full glory. And it's, like I said, it's been a long time and I still have them. I'm hosting my Uptime Kuma server on it right now and in a Docker container. I'm running Docker on that Ampere instance, and it's been working great. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. Anybody, Cyphertech, thanks for nerding out with me. Everybody else, I will be here tomorrow at 7 a.m. Tomorrow is Thursday, so I will be drawing my comic live, 7 a.m. Eastern. And I'll draw my comic live if anybody wants to come and join and watch me draw my silly little comic. Mary, you're still there. I'm sorry if we put you to sleep. Anyway, have a great day, everyone. And